I've got a show for you tonight, Mr. Coleman Young II. If you're from Detroit, no introduction is necessary. Now, if you're not from Detroit, here's a little bit about him. Coleman was the former Michigan State Senator and the son of one of the most famous Detroit mayors of all time, who served for over 20 years and was also one of the Tuskegee Airmen for that matter. He was also the former Democratic candidate for mayor of Detroit as well. He is also the principal and CEO of Coleman Young Consulting. He's also the founder of the Coleman A. Young Educational Foundation. More importantly, Coleman is the first politician on Maxin TV. I'm really excited to get started. Hit the music. Welcome back to another great edition of Maxin TV. I have the esteemed Mr. Coleman Young II. Absolute privilege and honor to have you on my show.
Privilege to be here, man. Thank you. Always a pleasure. Privilege to be here, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. You were the former Michigan State Senator. You were the son of the famed Detroit Mayor Coleman Young. You were the former candidate of mayor of Detroit. You are the principal and CEO of Coleman Young Consulting. And last but not least, you are the founder of the Coleman A. Young II Educational Foundation. It sounds like you're not doing anything with your life, clearly. I mean, just like, wow, you are doing a lot. So,
yeah,
holy hell.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about when you go to sleep at night and when you wake up in the morning, because you have so much going on, what is the one thing that really excites you?
Well, the one thing that really excites me is being able to serve. That's the one thing that really be able to excite me, to add value to the lives of people around me, to leave the world better than when I left it, to be able to help those who can't help themselves, and really to be able to help the least of these. And I think that's what we have in all the things that we do, whether it's from the Coleman Young II Educational Foundation, where we teach kids science, technology, engineering, and math, and whether it is also with the even with the Coleman Young Consulting piece. We want to help people be able to start businesses and be successful. But that's basically what we really want to do. And we can't guarantee success. We want to add value and add success to wherever we can.
You know what? That's absolutely. I looked into your foundation, and the biggest thing that I love is the education part, and mainly where you're putting focus on the STEM Academy. I've been saying this for years. A lack of a better term, the education system is pretty much bullcrap. It teaches you nothing. Your system is focused on three huge elements, which I think is going to play into the future: coding, engineering, and entrepreneurship. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your partnership with STEM Academy and your focus on education?
Excellent. So basically what we do is we kind of, with the Coleman Young II Education Foundation, first of all, we're in Detroit Public Schools. We're an after school or out of school time program. We're in 3 schools right now. We're at Western International High School. We are in Renaissance High School, and we are also in Martin Luther King Jr. Senior High School. And so basically what we do is we have a couple clubs. One, we have a robotics club that teaches kids how to make drones, teaches kids how to make, RVs, and things of that nature. We have a technology club that teaches kids how to make apps, that teaches kids about electrical engineering, about mechanical engineering. Really, if you are an auto mechanic, you're an engineer. It's just not really sold like that. But that's how we kind of try to tell people, relate to people who are here in the automotive capital of the world, the city of Detroit. And also, finally, we have another club called the Entrepreneurs Club. And that basically simulates real life experiences for kids to be able to understand how to run a business, about understanding vendors, about understanding inventory, about understanding contracts, about understanding taxes, about understanding the nuts and bolts of basically how to run an organization and how to run a business. And so these are the things that we have a holistic approach in terms of not just what we're teaching them with science, technology, engineering, and math, but also we have programs that can help them in terms of getting to school before COVID hit. We help kids get into NASA Academy. We help kids get into Princeton. We help, so in terms of there's computer camp they had. We help the kid get into Google as well. So we help kids get into a lot of different places involving science, technology, engineering, and math, and we'll continue to do so.
I can't even spell Google. So besides for that, and also from my understanding, it's not even just like, okay, they got into college and it's like you stay with them the whole time. It's very impressive.
Absolutely, we stay with them the whole time. We're a very immersive program, and if you want to contribute or if you want to donate, please just go to CAY2. That's CAY2 foundation.org. It's CAY2 foundation.org.
Which I will be leaving a link down below as well. So you're a public servant and you've been doing this for a long time. You're a state senator. What led you to getting into that field as opposed to anything else per se? What was this always your passion growing up?
Absolutely. It was always it wasn't my passion growing up, but it was definitely something I got passionate about when I was older. Let me back up a little bit. Basically, the reason why I got into public service was because I've always felt that, it's kind of like that old quote, to whom much is given, much is required. And I remember as a young man that when I came to the city of Detroit, I was looking for a job, and so I went to apply at a local radio station. And when I went in to apply at this local radio station, they buzzed me in. They told me to come in. They knew who I was. My father's picture was on the wall. They said, you come on in, and, we know you. They wanted me to sign autographs. And I figured, what I got to do is just, keep my mouth shut, not light my hair on fire. I got this job. And not only did I not get the job, I didn't even get a call back.
Wow.
I figured to myself at that point, if that's something that's happening to me, imagine what's happening to everybody else that's out there. And I'm not saying that I'm special or different. I'm just saying that if that's something that's happened to me when I've been blessed with somewhat of notoriety, with somewhat people know who I am, and being blessed with being, the son of the greatest mayor, I think, on the face of the planet. If I'm being treated this way, I can only imagine what other people are. And so I have a responsibility to help other people, to make sure that we enhance the opportunities that people have to be able to get jobs, be able to feed themselves and their family. Because nobody should work 40 hours a week and not be able to feed themselves and their family in the richest country.
It's a real problem.
Right.
We're in one of the richest countries. I mean, America. There's money all over the place, and yet there's so many people that are just struggling. Right? It's unbelievable. And
that's what we're trying to alleviate with the Coleman Young II Education Foundation for these young people. We're trying to put them on a path that they can contribute to society. If they can be able to fulfill their God-given potential to the best of their ability. And we just want to give them the tools and the opportunities necessary in order for them to do that.
Right. Do you feel that growing up as the son of a former mayor of Detroit, he was the mayor of Detroit for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Do you feel that obviously that probably had a huge impact on you? And were there any lessons that you learned and maybe you could share with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It had a huge impact on me. The one lesson I learned from my father was basically say what you mean what you say. Leave a situation better when you found it, and always be true to yourself. Always be upfront with people who you're dealing with, and power is only important as an instrument to serve the powerless with. That's what he basically taught me and instilled those principles and values in me, and encouraged me that he kind of just gave me that lesson that what good is it for man to gain the entire world if he loses his soul, and what good is it you have the kingdom if you look to your left, you look to your right, and your brothers and sisters are starving and struggling. So I'd love to take you down. There's a place called Wall Street. I'd love to introduce you to a couple of people down there. Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, there you go. They should learn a thing or two about that, right?
Absolutely. We
talk to
them about that, talk to them about the Coleman Young Foundation and, use their charitable, funds in order to, help people be able to, help people who can't help themselves. Absolutely. All that.
There you go. So what was it like in state legislature, how did because a lot of people, they hear a lot of things about how things are run, but you were honest, you were inside of it. How are things generally done?
Well, how things generally are done in the state legislature, if you're trying to get something done, is basically through compromise. That's really how the way things are going to get done. Especially major pieces of legislation. You would always have to, I like to say, you had to cut deals without sacrificing your ideals. You know what I mean? You had to really, keep your principles, but you also had to make sure that you were able to, negotiate to get things done. And so that's basically how things got done when I was in the legislature. Now, things are a lot different now because it seems that, people can't compromise on anything at all. And, a lot of that has to do with, gerrymandering. A lot of that has to do with just increased partisanship. A lot of that has to do with, social media and the media and the way things are playing out now. But, basically how things are, things were ran up there when I was up there was basically, you had to give to get. And, but you had to be careful how much you were willing to give up, and you had to know your price. So you had to know your price, and you also had to make sure that you stayed true to your constituents and did the best you could for them.
Right. And that's how things get done, even in business. I mean, you can probably speak on that too. Everything is give and get, right?
Right. Right.
You got it. Right. And so what is the biggest thing you feel that is holding everybody up from even coming to the same table and negotiating anything? Why is it so divided?
I think that politics right now is so divided because of a couple things. I think politics is divided because of the way the media is set up and the way, we went from broadcasting where you're trying to talk to everybody to now you're narrowcasting. So you just have the media that's just talking to their segment, trying to increase their segment of viewers and grow their segment of viewers. I think it's because of social media. There's so many different places to get your information. Before you had a couple TV channels, so everybody had the same news, everybody had the same facts. Now it's like everybody has a completely different set of facts, and usually, a lot of facts that some people are saying on one side is totally not true, and so it's really just, especially in this era, this age, where it really just seems like it's a war on the truth. It's kind of like we're living in a post-truth era, so to speak. Just because of all the information that's out there, and it's so much easier to spread misinformation, the black arts, misinformation, disinformation. There's this saying that goes, a lie could go around the world 3 times before the truth has time to put its pants on. And I think that's really what we're seeing right now in this divided environment, as well as the fact that politically you have something called gerrymandering, where you have, Republicans and Democrats who are not concerned about, facing challenges in the general, but are concerned to facing challenges in the primaries because they have their districts have been redistricted to where now it is primarily or majority Republican or majority Democrats. So they have to make sure that they don't get a challenge from their own party. And so it increases people being more partisan. It increases people wanting to be more leftist and burnishing their progressive credentials and showing how left they are instead of trying to work compromise in the middle. And so the middle of the road and basically people who are more moderate, more conservative, even that's kind of shunned now. Well, not conservative, like I said, people who are more moderate, that's shunned now. That's considered weak now. That's considered not strong now. That's considered not in now because you have these redistrict, you have these maps that have been drawn up where basically what you have is politicians picking their voters instead of voters picking their politicians, and that's wrong.
I don't know if you had the chance on Netflix, there was a show called The Social Dilemma. So I
need to go see it. I heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
So, I mean, I like to clear, I'm not a black and white thinker. I'm typically, I'm an open mind. It has to go with facts. But this show was primarily about having former executives of big time social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, all of the big ones. And they were talking about how misinformation is essentially causing a lot of hatred that's going on today. So, for example, if Facebook would know that someone likes X, they're just going to keep feeding them information about X. Someone likes Y, they keep feeding them about Y, and it just continues to divide the X and Y further and further and further, and then you have fighting going on. Do you feel that, number one, all these social media giants are to blame a lot for this, and is there anything we can do to actually combat this?
Well, I definitely think that you have algorithms that are put out there in order for people to be able to, in order to be tailored to people's content, to keep them watching, to see what they want to see. Listen, I think that I definitely think that in terms of Facebook, in terms of social media companies, I'm not trying to say anybody has to blame per se. I definitely think we all have responsibility. And I think that we have responsibility to make sure that when any information that's put out there is levied in truth, is measured in truth. We have responsibility to make sure that we don't put out hateful information. We have responsibility to make sure we don't put out dehumanizing information or disinformation. I think that's what we have responsibility to, not just as or corporations or businesses, but as Americans and as human beings. We have responsibility for the truth to be told. And, as John Hope Franklin says, that the unvarnished truth must be told. And so I think that that's something that we have to adhere to. And I think that regulation in terms of making sure that the truth is told and that the truth is gotten out and that we're not using these social media platforms as vehicles to spread hate, to spread disinformation, to spread misinformation, I think is something that's good. I think it's something that's welcomed.
Right. Couldn't have said it any better myself, honestly. And so you're a person that spreads positivity nonstop. You run the foundation, as you mentioned, you're guiding kids, which are building for the next generation. How long have you been running your foundation for?
Well, it's a fairly new foundation. So we've been running for about, a year. We've been running this foundation about a little bit more. So it's fairly new. Right before COVID hit. So, it was really hard, it's just really, really, really difficult right now. But I think that, but it's been rewarding. I mean, to see what's been going on. The first time we had our first open house, had about 30 kids there. So, which was amazing, during COVID-19 and really during all the things that we had in terms of the digital divide in general. And so, and we are a minority, not just city, but also school districts. So, you have the digital divide in terms of people not necessarily having access to the internet. And so we had to provide tablets for free for a lot of these kids, for that, because we understand, the racial wealth gap and how that plays out in America. And so to have that type of response and the participation for those kids, I couldn't be any prouder of what we're doing. And I think it's a great thing. And I think we just want to continue to keep it going. I'm just glad I can be on platforms like this talking about it, because I really think that, we're basically putting our kids through a process called the same process that businesses go through. Y Combinator, business startups go through. That's what we're doing with our kids right now, for them to be able to use the skills set and the tools of science, technology, engineering, and math to be able to apply that to start their own business to solve the problems of COVID-19. And so it finds solutions to address those issues. So I think it's a real good thing. And I think this is just something I'm very proud of and I'm very happy to be a part of.
I think besides for it being a good thing, I think it's an extraordinary thing. I think that when you say teaching kids how to run their own business is music to my ears. Honestly, I get goosebumps just by hearing about it. I always said, why don't they teach kids how to do their taxes? Well, yeah. Nobody taught me anything. Yeah, you guys are doing that.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I really think that's what we're doing. And I think we need to do that. And I also think we need to get back to this, a little bit different topic, but I also think we need to get back to the trades too. I think that's something that we kind of gotten away from. I think there's just so many things that we can be doing in our schools right now in terms of getting back to the trade. And I just want to say, this is kind of random, but I also just want to thank XLNT Bakeries as well, because they've partnered up with us on numerous occasions. It helped us out tremendously. So I just want to say thank you to those guys and all they're doing. I appreciate them as well.
Yeah, Matt Askren, who runs that company, has become a very good friend of mine. And what you see is what you get. He is about as honest and truthful as it comes.
He is.
Hard to find nowadays,
Yeah, and being a former Marine, you wouldn't expect anything less. But yes, he is. He's a straight shooter. He's a good guy.
Definitely. I call him the man. He's the man. He really is the man.
He is.
And I do have to thank him, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have connected to begin with.
Absolutely.
So he goes without saying.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And he apparently makes one hell of a good hoopie pie.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I have people everyone who eats them loves them. They love them, no doubt.
I post pictures of it all the time, all over my social media. I actually did one in the beginning of one of my videos. I'm just like, they say a picture is 1,000 words. So I'm just gonna have a picture of a guy eating a hoopie pie for 5 seconds, and I did a picture's worth 1,000 words. So that being said, I'll display a picture for 5 seconds. Now, if that doesn't get you to buy a hoopie pie, I don't know what will. Back to the show. And people actually, like, they were going to the website. It's all, I mean, picture speaks 1,000 words. There's nothing else you need to say.
Especially when it's a good product. When it's a good product, it kind of sells itself.
It sells itself, yeah. And plus, Matt's a great guy. I can't say enough good things about him. So what made you decide to get into to start the foundation to begin with? Because there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes, working straight through the night, that people don't see. What made you step up to the plate and do that? Because it is a very hard thing to do.
What made me step up to the plate and want to do this is a simple fact that I just saw the fact that children were hurting, particularly in our school districts, that there were a lot of kids who I felt that DPS has the potential to do a lot of great things. I just felt that this was a space that we could kind of come in and enhance what was going on with DPS. I felt that we could partner up with them and make things better. I just see kids really struggling right now in DPS. I saw them hurting right now, and I thought that this would be an opportunity to be able to assist, to boost, to help them, and really be able to just add value to the lives of the children in the city of Detroit right now. And kind of adhere to that city motto, we shall hope for better things and shall rise from the ashes. And so I think that's what DPS is going to do. It's going to rise from the ashes like a phoenix. It's had its problems. It's had its difficulties. But I think that, and the kids have had their difficulties, especially during COVID-19. But I really feel that we have some of the most talented, brilliant kids in the world if they were just given the opportunity and the platform to really be able to enhance their skills, to build their talent and their skill set, and to give the confidence that they need and the opportunities that they need to be able to be successful and to contribute to society. And I felt that this is a good opportunity to do that. And that's really why I want to do it, because I love the kids and I care about them and I want them to be successful. And I feel that with a strong DPS, we're going to have a strong, bright Detroit. And that's really what I was about.
Sure. So strategizing, where do you think it will end up? I know it's definitely going to be successful. There's no question about it. You're running the show, so it's got to be successful. Right. But where do you see it going forward? As far as, where do you see it in 5 years or so? How many schools would you like to have, or so on and so forth?
Well, I mean, of course, obviously you want to be as many schools as possible. I don't want to hurt myself through prognostication here, but right. I definitely think that we want to be as many schools as we possibly can. And, we have a 5-year plan that we're looking to implement in terms of making sure that we can spread, we can implement in terms of where we can get to as many different schools as we possibly can throughout the city of Detroit right now. We're strategically placed right now in Southwest Detroit, West Side, and the East Side. We want to make sure that we get out probably to the Northeast, probably get a little bit further out to the Northwest later on, depending on what's going on right now. But right now, with what we have and the budget that we have and the finances that we have, I think that we're in a good place right now to see what's going to happen. I think once we complete our first term in terms of what's going on, I think we're going to have a better understanding of where we're at. We're going to be able to reach out more and expand our reach. But obviously, I would like to be throughout the entire Detroit public school system, but I just don't think that's something that's going to happen right now. I think that's something that's going to be maybe a 10 to 20 year plan down the road. But I think right now, we just want to be able to expand probably within Northeast, probably within Northwest, probably within a little bit deeper the Southeast side of the city, Detroit, and other places. So, but we got a nice group of schools right now. I think we're seeing great things come from them. And so we'll continue to see it later on down the line.
So when Warren Buffett was actually starting his company, at the first annual meeting, he mentioned he had about 4 people, if you include his Aunt Shirley, I believe. You already had at your first meeting 30 kids, so you're already like way steps ahead of him, and look where he's gotten. So I'm very excited to see the future of this.
Well, I appreciate you for comparing me to Warren Buffett. You know, we love Mr. Buffett and everything like that. But I'm very happy where we are. We're very blessed. We are very blessed and very humbled to be where we're at right now.
Right. So why don't we speak a little bit more about your consulting business? So you obviously have a lot of background. Pretty much everybody, you really are the man in the city of Detroit. So you started your consulting business, which also takes a leap of, it's a very entrepreneurial thing. Most people are afraid of doing that. Why don't we talk a little bit more about that, what your goals are as far as running your consulting business and getting more into that?
Well, listen, I mean, my goal basically is we want to help businesses be able to start up. We help small businesses be able to start up. Right now, we're in the cannabis field, so we're working with cannabis businesses to be able to help them start up as well. That's basically our goal. What we want to do is we want to help startups. We want to help people who are interested in getting into marijuana, no matter what your position is, whether you already have businesses and you're looking to expand, or whether you're just looking to jump in and you don't know what to do. And so we basically provide consulting, we provide advice. We also provide access to loans or pitch decks or money, if you will, investing, if you will, if that's what you're looking for. We're kind of basically a one-stop shop based on what your needs are and based on where you're at in terms of the process. Now, we focus and we specialize in cannabis, but we can branch out into other things as well, depending on what you want to do for your business.
Right. So specializing in cannabis, is any specific reason cannabis?
Well, I think one of the reasons why is because I have a passion for cannabis for two reasons. One, from the criminal justice aspect of it, I felt that the fact that African Americans are 4 times more likely to be arrested for the possession of marijuana, even though they use it the same rate as their Caucasian counterparts, I felt that was wrong. I also just felt the fact that this is an opportunity to help a lot of people get started in businesses that they were already familiar with. Cannabis has been underground for a very long time. And there's a lot of people who have expertise in it, but because it was legal, they really couldn't be able to utilize that or take advantage of that. And so, or capitalize on that. And so basically what I want to do is take a business that a lot of people are already familiar with in the city of Detroit and across the country and be able to help people be able to get started in that business, no matter where you're at. And I think it's a great business opportunity. I think it's also a great health opportunity. You can talk about fibromyalgia. You can talk about treating cancer. You talk about treating hyperthyroidism, PTSD. Recent studies found that it can help inflammation with COVID-19. So I'm not saying cure, but just help treat. And so I think that these are things that I really felt that this is a good thing. I think it's a good product. I think it's a good opportunity for people to be able to make money. And I think that cannabis businesses usually have a more of a family aspect when it comes to it, in terms of making sure that when they go into a community, they're not only about making money, they're also about improving and adding value to the lives of the people around them. I think that's something that's very important. So, yeah, if you want any business, please, check us out on ColemanYoungConsulting.com.
Definitely. And so when you consult these different businesses, what's the biggest challenge you feel is like the number one challenge that you see is like pretty much every business faces for whatever reason in starting a business and becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges obviously is going to be access to capital. That's the first thing you're going to have is access to capital. I think that's changing now, especially for people of color in the post-George Floyd era. I think that you have financial institutions that are starting to come around and wanting to have more release funds that have more liquidity within the market. I think that's something that's going to change. But I also think from our perspective with the government, it's just barriers of entry. Being able to navigate that whole process. Who do I go to in terms of zoning, make sure I'm zoned properly? Who do I go to? What kind of licenses do I need to get? What are the documents do I need to sign? Who do I send those to? Just basically navigating and making sure the efficiency and the effectiveness of your business with relationship to the government. So you have all the documents and paperwork that you need, and basically the barriers of entry in terms of being able to get started. So you can start a business and also save money as well. If you're applying for social equity, on the state level and on a local level, it's called Legacy Detroiter program. If you're in Detroit, how do I go about doing that? What's the process that I'm going about doing that? And that's kind of what we help businesses do, is just walk through the process of government step by step.
When you look back, to when even when you were a teenager, and then you were to look at yourself now and look at all that you're doing to help the city of Detroit, Did you ever imagine that you'd be in the position you are now?
No, never in a million years. I thank God for the position I'm in, though. There's a lot of people who are in worse positions right now, and there's a lot of, so I really thank God just for what I have and what I've been blessed with. I recently went to a young man's funeral who froze to death.
Ooh.
And because he was homeless.
Wow.
And when in the city of Detroit, you have 84% of the city that can't afford to pay its basic needs, and you had 39% of the city that was food insecure before the coronavirus. So, looking at it through that lens, I'm just very thankful and blessed for what I have and the opportunities that I've been given. And I just want to not only be a good steward of that, but I also want to help as many people as I can also be successful as well, if possible and within reason. And so I think that's basically what we're trying to do with the Coleman Young consulting aspect, with the Coleman Young Education Foundation. We want to invest in these kids because our kids, the children are our future. And I think nationally, school institutions of color or school districts are underfunded by billions of dollars. As a $23 billion, matter of fact, underfunded in this country. And so I think that part of the reason why I wanted to get involved in the Education Foundation was I wanted to be able to alleviate that. I wanted to be able to be an equalizer, to be able to balance the playing field a little bit. Not necessarily in terms of making up $23 billion, but in terms of just being able to give these kids the skills they need to be successful. That's really what it's about at the end of the day, is that we want to make sure that, one, these kids know that they're loved, two, that we care about them, and that, three, we want to be able to give them the platform and the opportunities to be successful and give them a chance to be able to shine and put them not just in positions, but give them the tools, give them the skills, give them the education. And even if they don't use this later on in life, they have that experience and they have that opportunity. They know these things exist. They know about these things. They've expanded their mind. They've expanded their reach, and they can use these connections in the future. And that's really what it's all about. It's about building a better and brighter future for them today.
Right. It's one thing that someone had an opportunity and he chose for whatever reason not to use it. But then it's another thing where you just never had an opportunity and nothing happened. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you feel? Because, you're an extremely successful person. What do you feel was the number one area where you kind of essentially made it, in a sense, where, even if, I would say millions of people have opportunities all over, they might have connections everywhere, but not everyone really makes it or really does something with it. What do you feel really kind of drew you and kind of made you who you are?
Well, I think the one thing that made me who I am is, one, I think that God has blessed me. I think that's something that's very important in my life and what he's done for me. I also think it's my family, the influence of my father, but also my mother as well, instilling in me the values that I've been instilled in. I think of never quitting, of believing in yourself, of investing in other people, of adding value to the lives of those around you. Really, let me know that leadership is when you compel people to do the right thing. I think that more than anything, teaching me that character counts, and I really think that's something that's important, really being able to not just be a good person, but also to uplift those around you. That they say that if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, you have to go together and bring everyone you can with you. And I think that's really what we try to emphasize, the principles that we try to emphasize within the Coleman Young II Education Foundation, as well as Coleman Young Consulting. And so I really think that is something that has really added value in my life. It's just my family influence, their love, their graciousness, and really just knowing when to do the right thing, when to give me a pat on the back, when to give me a kick in the butt, and just really just always being straightforward and giving me an environment to find myself, to be myself, but also knowing that I have a responsibility in this world to go out there and make things happen for myself and I also have responsibility to uplift those around me when I do.
That is a great quote, and I hope you don't mind if I can use that sometime. That is the greatest. I have not heard that, actually.
Absolutely. Take it. Please do.
That is a great quote. So as a leader, great leaders are able to also build great teams, right? So I had the privilege of talking with one of your team members, Raul.
Yeah.
He's an unbelievable guy. He's a great guy to know. So how are you able to how did you guys start working together, and how are you able to build the team that you have around you today?
Well, we met through a mutual friend. We met through School, who is our executive director of the Education Foundation. And basically, we met through him. I met him when I was in the legislature, when I was in Lansing. And so that's basically how we hit it off. So Raul, and then from that relationship, we met Carmen. Carmen is our program director who does everything for the programs for the Education Foundation. So I met School. Let me back up here. I met School when he came to Lansing, and he was doing a film documentary. He was doing a film, and he was doing a documentary. And he came in, and he asked to shoot the documentary. And I said, yeah, and that's how we met through that process. And then he introduced me to Raul, and then from Raul we met Carmen, and the rest is, as they say, is history. And so that's basically how we've been doing things.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Curtis Schoon, very impressive person. He's made he recently came out with a movie recently, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, Black, White, and Blue. I was involved in that. Excellent film. So proud to be involved in that. But that's basically how I met him, and how I met Raul. And it's just been great ever since. It's just been a really good fit in terms of how I met them, where I met them at. They would come to Detroit because Raul was in New York, and School was in DC. And so they would come to the city of Detroit, and we would meet, do business, and that's how we all came together.
That's amazing. And so moving forward, what's on the horizon? It's really just to push forward with the programs and the foundation and consulting, or anything new that we maybe haven't covered yet?
No. I think we covered it all right now. I think we covered it all right now. I think everything's looking well. If you want to catch up with me or anything I'm doing, just go to CAY2foundation.org. It's CAY2foundation.org. And I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity for me to be on this broadcast. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all mine. It's real privilege and honor for me. No question about it. I really do appreciate you coming on for sure.
Thank you.
I will be leaving links down below. You can get in touch. And once again, thank you so much for joining the show.
Hey, thank you so much, man. Always a pleasure. You take care now.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.